with your man, Dr. Philip Bendo, is here to sort of tell us a little bit more about that and how you can better communicate with your man. So I guess first tell me, why do men and women have trouble communicating with one another?
Well, men aren't really taught growing up as boys to communicate. It's not a macho kind of thing. It's something where if you show emotion, if you share feelings, you're not really a man. And even though I think that's changed a lot in today's world, it's still a problem. Women, on the other hand, need sharing and nurturing and communication in order to feel loved and feel connected. And so it's sort of God's joke that the two don't have that in common. So we have to find a way to bridge that gap.
Absolutely. And I studied a little bit of relationships in college, and we studied emotions. And one thing that we found was that, you know, when men sometimes, when they want to express that they're sad about something, they use words like frustrated and angry rather than saying I was hurt, because it's hard for men. They're taught sort of to push those emotions aside as boys, and that's sort of how they grow up. So what are some of the ways that sort of, you know, if you're us women can help our men sort of communicate better?
Well, one of the things I think first is women need to recognize that not all men who don't communicate well are cold and detached or angry. I think what you have to recognize is that they may not either have the skills or a sense of what they're feeling. So the first thing I would say to you is that women need to understand that a man might be equally as frustrated not coming across effectively to you as you are not receiving what you need.
So it's not necessarily that even we need to sort of communicate better with our men. I mean, obviously that's one part of it, but it's sort of just understanding that he wants to communicate with you just as much as you want him to communicate.
And oftentimes he thinks he's communicating with you. And the frustrating thing for him really is that when he hears from you that he's not. Okay, and a lot of guys feel judged and kind of put off and pulled back. So I think women need to give a guy a break and come up with what I call a third language. Come up with a language that the two of you have together with an understanding of what his words mean, what you need, and how you can put those two together.
So how would you do that? Is that something you actually like write down on a piece of paper, or is it something you just discuss to sort of come up with your own little contract or language?
Well, I think people do it differently. An example is that in communication, intention is everything. Why I say to you what I say to you is exactly what you need to hear from me. So in doing that, an example is if I vacuumed today and you come home and I vacuumed, that might be for me a way to give you flowers. And so a woman needs to understand that if the guy does something like that, his intention was to say, I love you. So yes, sitting down and kind of going through what these things mean really can help a lot.
And then even like you said, sort of your guy vacuuming might be his way of saying, you know, something else, maybe acknowledging the little things that that each other are doing in the
Acknowledge
relationship.
it, understand it, but also for him, he has to understand some of these things that aren't going to cut it for a woman, and she's going to need an I love you, or when she walks down from the bedroom and she's got a new outfit on, to acknowledge it and not just look over and look back at the football game. If he could say something, if he could show his feelings to her, even minimally, I think a lot of women would feel a lot more content.
Do you think this is something that a couple can actually sort of do on their own to sort of come up with this love languages contract, or do you recommend maybe going to see somebody like a therapist or a relationship expert?
You know, I absolutely recommend seeing a relationship expert or a therapist, but I think first you should try to see if you come to that on your own. I think the other thing women have to understand, and men have to understand, is none of this is new to them. So they're dating, and this is happening. So a woman has to first decide, is she really the type of woman who can be with a guy who doesn't share his feelings well?
Right. How important is that to you?
Right. Exactly. Once she understands that, then she can move forward. If it becomes something that's such a conflict that keeps pulling them apart, that's when you should go get professional help.
Right. So if you can't work it out on your own, then go see somebody. Because always having that sort of third neutral perspective can help you and your partner both see things in a relationship that maybe you didn't see, because, you know, you always want to think you're right.
That's right. Exactly.
I don't ever do that, though. Right. But thank you so much for being here. It's really useful information. Let's hope we can all learn to communicate better with our loved ones. And I'll toss it back to you, Erica.
All right. Thanks so much, Ali. Well, coming up, new details about the shark attack that